All right. Welcome, LaAnna, to the Sisters in Laws podcast.
Thank you so much, Erica. I appreciate this opportunity.
Yes. So I like to begin with our guests sharing a little bit about themselves and what you do. So share with us.
Yes, so I am a model, a motivational speaker. I'm an advocate for women's health. I'm a wife, a mother of a miracle 8-year-old, and I just share my experiences to inspire others to never give up. My journey has been, through the hills and the valleys and ups and downs. And I feel like since now I have a testimony, I have to use my platform in any way that I can to inspire and uplift others.
Perfect. I absolutely love that. And I'm so happy that you are given an opportunity to share your story here. So really take us back on your journey to motherhood and share with us your fertility journey.
Yes. So I started my period at the age of 10. And at that point, I started to experience horrible pelvic pain, abdominal pressure, bleeding, embarrassment at school, having accidents in my bed, accidents at my desk during class. It was just, I was hit with so many obstacles. And at one point, I thought that was normal. Like that was a part with all women go through these horrible periods. And I never really understood, though, why I was having the accidents, like so much so that it was like water pouring down my legs. And I just didn't understand. My stomach would swell up. And I'm a young girl. My mom, was doing the best she could to, explain to me what's going on. But I just thought it was a part of the process. And one thing I need to point out, I was born with one kidney, blood on my stomach, jaundice, and severe dehydration. So I already knew about the one kidney, but I just kept it in the back of my mind. At the age of 15, I had my first pap smear. So my mom takes me into the doctor's office, and I had a male doctor, nothing against male doctors, but in this particular doctor, he didn't really have good bedside manner. So he does puts the speculum in, and it was very painful for me. I'm crying, I was screeching, and he does the exam. And so after we finish the exam, he takes me into the next office where my mom is. And he tells my mom that my cervix is not visible. So first they said, when I was born, no kidney, only one kidney. And now this doctor's saying my cervix is not visible. And so my mom, she didn't know. I didn't know what that meant. He didn't recommend for us to get other, further testing or go see, another, medical professional who deals with that type of situation. He just says my cervix is not visible. So throughout that teenage years, as I'm growing, my pain is getting worse. I'm having more accidents, buying all these pads and taking ibuprofen like Skittles. Like I'm taking 1,000 milligrams, 800 milligrams of ibuprofen because I'm in so much pain, laying in the bed crying. And I just don't understand what was going on. Like, why is this happening to me? So I marry my husband. I meet my husband. I marry my husband at the age of 22. And a week before I go in to marry my husband, the doctors told me they want to remove a cyst that was on my right cervix. Because I already knew my stomach would swell up, and then it would go down and all this fluid would come out, all this blood would come out. So now they want to remove this cyst. And I said, there's no way I'm having surgery a week before my wedding. So I decided not to do that. So after my husband and I get married, we wait about a year and we're like, let's just start, like naturally just start having kids. But I'm not thinking my problems with my period has anything to do with me having problems, having a baby. And we try and try, nothing is happening, nothing's getting better. And so I go in to see a doctor. And I'm searching to figure out what's going on. So the doctor recommended me to go to get an HSG, a hysterosalpingogram. So I go to this radiology department to do this hysterosalpingogram. It's not linked to a reproductive health, specialist. It's just a regular old radiology department. So I go to do the HSG, and the radiologist comes in and says, you only have half a uterus. I was like, half a uterus? First of all, I've never heard of women having half a uterus. So I'm confused. I'm like, what's going on? I'm literally crying because I'm in shock. All these years, I never understood why. And I'm like, probably maybe 23, 24, around that time. And so thank God during that time frame, I was working at a place called the Prenatal Assessment Center, where most of the people that work there are maternal fetal medicine doctors. So I told my husband, I said, babe, instead of going home, because I was actually off, we were both off on that day, let's go into my job. I need to talk to one of the specialists because this doesn't sit right with me. So I go in, I see one of the doctors, one of the colonels, because it was a military facility. And he's in between seeing pregnant patients. And he said, you know what, I'll look at your films. He puts my films in the screen. And he says, you don't have half a uterus, you have two. Two uteruses? I said, what do you mean? He said, it's probably called a bicornuate uterus. And I said, wait. I go from a cyst on my right ovary to half a uterus, and now I have two. And this is all in one day. He says, you need to research a reproductive endocrinologist. So literally, I went home, I started researching doctors, trying to figure out who can help me and properly diagnose what's going on with me. I finally find a doctor at Johns Hopkins, and I thank God for her. She did a thorough exam. I come in for the appointment, and I said, can my husband come into the appointment with me? Because I know this is about to be so painful. She said, yes. She said, I'm going to let you know. I'm going vaginally and anally. I'm getting you prepared. I said, well, yes, please have my husband in there with me. She goes in, does the exam vaginally and anally, and I am screaming and crying on the top of my lungs, holding my husband, and he's just so supportive to me. And I'm just like, what in the world is going on? And I can feel her going in and touching a certain spot, and it was excruciating pain. She says, we need to schedule you for laparoscopic surgery to figure out what's going on, because you do have something going on in there. Going for laparoscopic surgery, and I have endometriosis. My fallopian tubes are on both sides, are literally attached to my uterus, and I have a didelphys uterus, which means I have two uterus and two cervix. When that doctor at the age of 15, when he told me that he couldn't see my cervixes because both of my cervixes are at 9 o'clock. When you look at a clock, it's at 9 o'clock, so they're sitting over at the left side, so he couldn't see it. That blood on my stomach when I was a baby, who knows what, if they would have did more exams, what they would have found at that time. So it was just so overwhelming for me. I had to go get my right cervix open because my right cervix was closed. When my stomach would swell up in my teenage years into my 20s, that was my right cervix, which they thought was a cyst, filling up with blood. But when it couldn't take it anymore, it would finally seep out. So I'm just like overwhelmed, like, wow, all these years, I'm in my late 20s, and I'm just now finding out I have a double uterus and a double cervix. And I felt like I was different, like I was like not normal, that something was wrong with me. And then endometriosis, I never heard of endometriosis. They don't talk about this stuff in health class. They talk about sex, but they don't talk about infertility, reproductive health, different type of organs. Women being born without a uterus, they don't talk about those things. So I was just overwhelmed. And so after years and years of trying, after having those surgeries, I had 3 surgeries in all. She said, well, to try to help you get pregnant, let's try Clomid. I started taking Clomid, and that still wasn't working. Time is flying by, it's just going by. She said, you know what, let's do IVF, because IUI wouldn't work for me because of my double uterus. So we do IVF. My husband does my injections. I'm like diligent. I'm like a robot. I'm going to all my appointments, blood work, whatever it is, I'm going. MRIs, whatever it is, I'm going, because I want to make sure my husband has a baby. That was in my mind. I wanted to give my husband a child, not about what I was thinking for myself, but I need to give him a baby. He deserves it. Also, during that time, I'm pushing him away. I'm telling him, you can move on. You can marry someone else. Why waste your time with me? And he was like, I love you with or without children. So that was something that kept encouraging me. Like, he loves me regardless. I need to keep moving forward. So we finally get to that transfer day, and we're so excited. We're optimistic that I'm going to get pregnant, that we're going to get pregnant. So a few days later, after we do the transfer, they said, we're going to call you with the results to find out if you definitely are pregnant. And I remember the nurse calls and she says, Mr. and Mrs. Douglas, you're not pregnant. I was screaming on the top of my lungs. At that time, it had been 6.5 years. 6.5 years, almost 7 years of trying to get pregnant. I was so depressed. See, so a lot of times we can be depressed and still smiling, like everything is fine. We're still going to work, still living our lives, still going to church, still shopping. But inside, I was broken. I was done with the world. I was done with trying. I was just so frustrated, like, wow, other people are getting pregnant like that, no problem. And here we are doing the best we can, all that we've gone through, all the surgeries and medications and the financial, the mental, physical process that it takes you through, and we still can't get pregnant. So at that point, I was completely depressed. I was done. And one night when my husband was working night shift, I was standing in the kitchen, literally looking at the knives, pulling them up out of the butcher board to see which one was sharp enough to cut my throat. I was done. I was tired of not being good enough. I felt like I wasn't woman enough. I felt like I wasn't doing what is said of women. You're supposed to be fruitful, multiply. You're supposed to give life. And I couldn't do that. I felt like I was a failure. And I remember God said to me, hope still stands. My middle name is Hope, but I never understood why I was given that name until that point. So I put the knife back down on the butcher board. And I remember my husband told me a few days later, let's just move on and not think about having children. Let's just love on each other. Let's just not think about it. And I tell you, within, I think that was like 7 months, I woke up on July 6th. At this point, it was 8 years. I woke up on July 6th and I said, I'm going to take a pregnancy test. My husband's downstairs. I'm not going to tell him, I'm just going to take it. If it's negative, it doesn't matter because I'm used to having negative pregnancy tests. So it's fine. So I go into the bathroom, take the test, and I told myself not to look at the test. When I finally look at the test, it says positive. There's a plus sign. And I'm like, what? I was in shock. I couldn't believe it. Like, wait a minute. How? We haven't done any medication or IVF. How am I pregnant? I didn't believe it. Called my husband up and he said, babe, you're pregnant. That means we're pregnant. And I just thank God, like after 8 years, all the trials and tribulations, we got pregnant naturally. So now our daughter's 8 years old. But during those years of her growing up, we were like, let's try again. You know, we've been trying, what's going on? But we still couldn't get pregnant again. It's like something's not right. One thing that was in the back of my mind, when they first diagnosed me with endometriosis and a didelphys uterus, they also diagnosed me with 3 fibroids. But they told me, don't worry about them. They're benign. They're just sitting there. Don't worry about them. So over the years, I forgot all about those fibroids. But during this year of COVID, I've been working at home, sitting, at my table. So I've been sitting more than walking around my office because I'm sitting at home doing my work on my computer. And I just noticed these pains on my left side. I'm like, I usually don't have problems on my left. It's usually my right side. So something's not right. Fast forward, those 3 fibroids had grown. Those same 3 fibroids they told me to forget about, don't worry about them, they grew. So this year, February of this year, I had a myomectomy with a hysteroscopy, a laparoscopic myomectomy, and they removed 3 fibroids and opened both of my cervixes. So it's just been a roller coaster. But the woman I am now, my mind is set that, I'm still enough. Before, I felt like I wasn't worthy, like I wasn't woman enough. But now I'm like, you know what, Leanna, even in secondary infertility, you are still worthy. You're still worthy of love. You're still worthy of dreams. You're still worthy to live. So that's why I share what I've gone through all these years. And now I'm 40 years old and I'm free. So I share, what I'm going through because I want to help others. Because I know there's so many people out there that are suffering in silence, dealing with infertility, depression, just the load and what it does and how it wears on you. So I'm here for a reason. I'm still standing for a reason, and that's to inspire others. So that's my story.
Yes, no, I absolutely love your story. And we've always hear about those stories with folks who have bicoordinate uteruses, that they are pregnant with multiples. And I know people always hear those crazy stories, like, how did this lady not know she was pregnant with multiples? But she wouldn't have known if she didn't know she had two uteruses. And you know, delivered one baby one day and delivered the other baby like a couple days later. And that's because she had two uteruses with two cervixes. So the surgery that you had gotten on your uterus as you were going through, was it just them exploratory going in? Were they trying to remove the bicoordinate? Like, what were they trying to do?
So the first surgery was to explore, because they didn't know exactly what was going on with me, even though they told the doctor where I work said that I had a double uterus. The doctor where I went to, the reproductive endocrinologist, she wanted to make sure what was going on inside before they moved, you know, further. And then the second surgery was to remove endometriosis and to open my right cervix. And for a few weeks, I had to walk around with, I think it's UV catheter to make sure my right cervix. I had to go to work. I had to go to church, you know, go to the store with this thing hanging down my leg. And then I had to go and get it removed. So that was, you know, just to explore what was going on. That was what was those surgeries, why they were going on.
So when you delivered your daughter, were you able to have a vaginal delivery, or did they schedule you a C-section?
So I had a vaginal delivery because thankfully she was in my left uterus.
Got you. Okay, that was what I was going to ask you.
Yes, my right cervix is incompetent. So if she was pregnant in my right uterus, I would have had to have a supply, be on bed rest the whole pregnancy. So thank God she was in my left uterus. I delivered her at 32 weeks and 4 days. I had preeclampsia and some other things, but she was only 4 pounds, 5 ounces. But we were so grateful that I made it, you know, most of the pregnancy with no problems.
Yes, absolutely. Oh man, you and her are both walking miracles for sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now that you've gotten the myomectomy, are you considering continue to grow your family?
Yes, we are considering. Right now it's like, now that I'm 40, I just turned 40 last month. My mind kind of has changed a little bit because now I'm older. You know, you have to think about those things. You're more high risk. I'm already high risk, but I'm like, God, if it happens within this year, we're, you know, welcoming with open arms. But after a while, we're going to have to say, you know what, it's okay, because we are grateful that we have Olivia. That's our daughter's name. And we don't want to discount that. You know, it's, of course, we wanted our child to have a sibling, but we are blessed that we have her.
Another thing that I love about your story is that you worked at the right place and knew who to go talk to get the right opinion for your diagnosis. Some things that happen to us in the healthcare system, and I see it happen quite often, is that we get stuck because we get this diagnosis and we're like, oh crap, okay, what do I do with it? Versus saying, well, let me go get a second or third or fourth opinion to really understand, is this truly what it is? This first person said it was, and obviously in your case it wasn't. The first person that diagnosed you clearly didn't know what was really going on, and then getting a specialist opinion on how to tackle it. And I think that we have to be open to, and I think we have that privilege for most of us who have, you know, insurance, that we can go and say, hey, let's use our insurance and go find a specialist that specializes in this, so that we know they can tackle this, whether it's endometriosis or fibroids, which majority of Black women have. They just don't know. And that could have been the cause of a lot of the bloating, the bleeding, the things that you were having happen to you all these years. And, you know, they didn't really diagnose you properly, or just told you they were benign. Benign doesn't mean anything, right? And you could have been, you know, doing some other things, or even had a myomectomy years ago, you know, prior to COVID. Obviously, COVID has been a good thing and a bad thing for numerous perspectives. But, you know, those things could have helped to understand exactly what was going on in your body. So I'm so happy that you persisted and continued to get other opinions. So that's for everyone that's listening, that's watching. go get your second and third opinion. Do not trust, not saying that you can't trust every doctor, but sometimes it's good to have a confirmation or get a different perspective based on experience, because every doctor has different experiences on what they've seen, right? And they base their opinions on experience. So we want to make sure that you get a well-rounded perspective on your body before you make a decision of surgery or any other procedures that you have to move forward. So now that, you know, you got the myomectomy, y'all are going to continue to try naturally, you know, how really did you go through this process? Because I feel like it's been probably what, 10, 15 year long journey up and down and around about trying to figure out what's going on with your body. How did you get to this place of accepting your body for what it is? Because you mentioned before that you felt like you were a failure, like you were on this island alone, that no one really understood what you were going through. So how did you get to that place? Because I'm sure there was some grief and healing that had to come as you navigated through the journey to get to where you are now.
Yes, it was pretty hard. And actually, I count, you know, at the age of 10, starting my period, I counted as 30 years of going through this. So most of my life, it's been dealing with finding out who I am. Even though it's reproductive health, I needed to find out who I was. Yes, I have this double uterus, but I have a story to tell to help someone else. So it took a lot of guidance. I'm someone that prays. I'm someone that believes that my faith is what sustains me. My family, I mean, just literally lifting me up. And there's one thing I want to point out. I had my sister who offered to carry the baby for me. And yes, and during that time, I felt like she was taking that away from me. I was so depressed. I thought she was taking the opportunity of me being a mother away from me. So it was really hard. And I say that to help someone out there. If you have a family member or a friend that wants to offer to carry the baby for you, don't push them away. Welcome that. Welcome that, because all they want to do is give you something that you've been longing for. I couldn't see it at that time because I was so depressed. So it's like things that we see that is harming us. It's really to help us. It's really to give us hope. And I really, you know, thank God for my husband and our family who has supported me through the tears, through the pains, through the frustrations, the hormonal changes of all the medications. That's what's kept me. And so that's what's given me the strength to share my story now.
Love it. Absolutely love that. I think that, you know, that is so selfless for your sister or family or friends to say they would give up their own body. You know, it's a year-long process to have a baby to carry your child for you. So, I love that advice. I think that that's so key for individuals because they know the love and the things that you truly desire, which your heart truly desires, and they want the best for you. So any other tools or resources, books, things that have helped you navigate the journey through, you know, learning a lot more about endometriosis or fibroids, your bicornate uterus, or even going through IVF? I mean, girl, like you've been through it all.
Yes. Now I thank God for the support groups, the many, many support groups that I know of. When I was going through in my 20s, I didn't know any support groups. And I particularly didn't know any Black women going through what I was going through. If my family members, I didn't know anybody else in my family that had a double uterus, a double cervix, one kidney, fibroids, and endometriosis, and I also have PCOS. I didn't know anybody in my family. So I kind of felt like I was alone. But now there's so many support groups that I'm a part of, that I speak on, like when they have, you know, events, I speak and share my story, and they have empowered me. They have poured into me. Endo Black, the White Dress Project. There's so many people that have supported, and I'm just grateful. The fibroid pandemic, you know, filling empty rooms. There's so many support groups out there. So I'm just going to share with you all to be sure to reach out to support groups, reach out to them, and reach out to family, reach out to friends, anyone else that you see that may be going through infertility or that may be pregnant. Talk to them. I used to push myself away from people that were pregnant, or I would be jealous of them. I would look down on them. So really, 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 be more mindful to talk to them. Instead of being jealous, talk to them. Let them know that you're going through and you want to hear their perspective. You want their support.
Absolutely. And you just never know. I feel like every Black pregnant person has a story
Yes.
on how they got there. So even though they may have gotten pregnant in a more natural way and may not have battled infertility, they still have the same struggles when they step in that OBGYN office, or they go to their reproductive endocrinologist, or they go to their maternal fetal medicine specialist. Like, we all have the same shared journey as Black people, as we do in general in America. But still, I think that is so sound advice, because you just never know how that person can pour into you, or what you can find out about pregnancy and the journey, because ultimately that is what you, especially if that's something you aspire to do. Perfect. So I would love for you to leave our listeners and folks watching just some encouraging words for those who are navigating this journey of infertility, of going through reproductive, assisted reproductive treatments, or, trying to get pregnant naturally and deciding, do I get this surgery to remove these fibroids or not? Do I remain in pain? What encouraging words can you leave with our listeners?
Yes, I just want to let anyone out there know to never give up, that you are worthy, regardless if you're a mother or not. No matter where you are on your journey, you are worthy just as you are. And don't feel the pressure. I know it's hard when you're navigating appointments and what to do next, and you feeling judged or whatever it may be. You are not alone, and you are enough just as you are. I understand what you're going through, but don't suffer in silence. We have a habit to keep things, especially in our community, we keep things inside. It's time to share what you're going through. And as one analogy that I always use, when you have something spoiled in your refrigerator, do you let it just stay there? Do you just keep opening the door and closing it like nothing is wrong? Or do you do something about it? Do you get rid of it? Do you, throw it into the trash? So when a doctor tells you you're diagnosed with this, endometriosis, or you have fibroids, take the time to do some research. Just don't live with it. Like, I lived with fibroids for years, after being diagnosed. Do something about it. Don't just live with the pain. I know we're so strong, we're so resilient, but don't suffer. Don't sit in it and think that you can't do anything about it. There's so many resources. There's so many doctors, so many therapists that are willing to talk to you. When, I feel like infertility and mental health go hand in hand. So, as you're going on your journey, you need to talk to someone. If you need to talk to a therapist, that's okay. That's all right. Don't feel ashamed. If you need to talk to your pastor, that's okay. Talk to someone, your parents, talk to someone. So I just want to encourage you to never give up. You are worthy. You are beautiful. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, and we are in this together.
Amen. So where can we connect with you after this episode? Because obviously we want to follow your journey.
Thank you so much. I'm at Hope Still Stands _LLC on Instagram and on Facebook. And again, that's Hope Still Stands, just like how it sounds, _LLC. And you can DM me, you can email me, and I'll be, able to talk to you and encourage you, inspire you, or just be a listening ear. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Well, thank you so much, LaAnna, for being on the podcast. This has been a pleasure. And I'll definitely link all your information below. So everyone, in your show notes and the description box of this video, you'll be able to find her information. So definitely go follow her so we can follow along on her journey.
Thank you.
Oh.